What's up, Marwan fans? This is Raphael from C Manga, and welcome back to another review of the Breaker New Ways. This week's chapter 191 part 2. So yes, we didn't actually get chapter 192 this week. We got the last, I can't remember how many pages, but we got the last few pages of chapter 191 that we saw last week. And apparently the authors said that 191 was supposed to be a 36 page chapter, but because they're obviously on a weekly schedule, they couldn't release that, so they just did what they could last week and released the rest of it this week. And this is kind of going back to what I said, they still work in a monthly format. I definitely can tell that is their preferred method of writing the Breaker, and obviously it shows with this one they couldn't meet the weekly quota, so had to split it up into two. But more or less the chapter was, as everyone expected, Shi-Woon completely ascended, you might as well say, and became the new Demon King. And it was actually quite despite obviously only being about 5 or 6 pages, it was very enjoyable because there was just so much going on. Like I could imagine if this was animated, it would be so brilliant. Like when Ju-San-Sik arrives now, obviously, to Elder Kwang's body and touches him, I could imagine the silence, and then obviously the outrage when he screams and he's like, "9-Ounce Dragon, you bastard!" Like I imagine that he completely was distraught. Like you saw his hand shaking after he failed to find a pulse. And obviously, as I said, this shows you the respect and obviously admiration he had for Elder Kwang. So he's off there fighting obviously Chun-Woo, and Shi-Woon is obviously left to mellow with his thoughts about Elder Kwang. And it was touching, and obviously elaborates what I've been saying for a while, and what I think Shi-Woon was always had in mind. He couldn't understand what went wrong. All he wanted to do was save everyone, including Kwon and Chun-Woo himself. He wanted to resolve this in a peaceful manner, and obviously he is completely in shock. He can't believe it's come to this. You imagine Elder Kwon was alive with him not a few flipping minutes, or I'd say probably barely half an hour ago he was speaking to him, and even just a few minutes ago he was speaking to him, and now he's dead. And obviously Shi-Woon never saw this scenario ever happening, so for that to happen, and the fact that he feels like it's probably all on him, he's just completely out of it. And he was literally calling to him. He's like, Grandpa Kwon. He's like, please answer me. And the distraught feeling starts to consume him, and then the key starts to build up and surround him. And this is where we think, oh crap, it's happening. Chun-Woo, obviously knowing this technique, tells everyone, cover your ears. And Shi-Woon unleashes, a shockwave as he screams. And I was literally grinning when I saw this, because it is one thing the Breakers the authors of the Breakers love doing, is doing parallels, and this is something we saw at the end of part 1 in chapter 63, was Chun-Woo unleash, the cry of the phoenix, or the phoenix cry. It was the exact same scenario as well, where Chun-Woo lost a loved one, Shi-Woon lost a loved one, and it even was down to little things like the helicopter. There was a helicopter there that got hit by the shockwave. We even had someone mentioning, that can't be the cry of the phoenix. In chapter 63 it was Jong-Lei one, and in this one it was one of the elders. So it's just all these parallels is ridiculous. And then Kaiser himself, knowing about the Demon King, he said that before in chapter 63, Chun-Woo's like, yes, the rise of a Demon King. And in this one he was grinning, he was like, oh. And then when it finally happened, Shi-Woon going into the Black Origin threshold mode, he's form, he's like, oh look, I didn't think there'll be another Demon King born in this era, but he's like, maybe he'll be able to. And then he's like, no, he might actually be an even greater Demon King than Chun-Woo himself. So yeah, it was brilliantly done. A lot of people in the internet are saying Super Saiyan Shi-Woon. In regards, I agree with that. He does kind of look like Super Saiyan. I could imagine the aura is probably some bright color, either yellow or white or something. Obviously, because it's a Marwen, we can't tell, but his form looks a bit more controlled and I'd say peaceful, despite obviously he's the fact that he's in pain and distraught from losing Elder Kwang. When we saw Chun-Woo unleash it, he had breath, he looked like a pure demon. It was like a fog of breath. His eyes were demonic, and there was kind of I think there was a bit of black aura or ki around him. With Shi-Woon, it's the opposite. His eyes look more composed. He still obviously looks angry, but he doesn't look as demonic as Chun-Woo did. And as I said, his ki looks more I'd say light, obviously, and peaceful in comparison. So yeah, I'm definitely happy to see Shi-Woon enter this mode, as I was anticipating something like this for a while, where I think it was somewhere back in the Overhaul Rebirth, and you know, him fighting Doc Henry, and I was like, I think Shi-Woon's gonna have a new kind of version of the Black Origin Threshold, where he would be in complete control and somewhat have consciousness. So this is something I'm hoping he's going to show, that he is in complete control and he's conscious of what he's doing, because if he loses his crap now, a lot of people are going to suffer. We saw what happened when Chun-Woo went into the Black Origin Threshold, and he smacked, like literally backhanded someone's head off. He was killing everyone who was nearby, and if it wasn't for Shi-Woon stopping him, he would have completely wrecked everyone. So I'm wondering what's going to happen. Is Shi-Woon going to lose control and go mad, ape shit, or is he going to be controlled and I'd say in complete consciousness, rather than before when he was fighting Doc Henry? So as I said, I enjoyed this chapter. What I enjoyed about was obviously with Shi-Woon going into this mode finally, but it was the way it happened. I still don't agree with Elder Kon being killed. As I said, this could have been resolved any other way. I would have preferred if someone else had activated Shi-Woon going into Black Origin Threshold, but it is what it is. I'm not complaining anymore. It's done with. Elder Kon's died, Shi-Woon's in Black Origin Threshold, and now it's to decide what's he gonna do. Is he gonna fight Chun-Woo, or is he just going to, I don't know, be talkative again? You never know. He could just probably talk the situation out, but I doubt that will happen. We'll just have to wait and see. So as I said, love this chapter for the parallels. Shi-Woon going into Demon King mode, you might as well say. The Cry of the Phoenix making a comeback, seeing that again was brilliant. And as I said, the whole parallel of chapter 63 was great. And yeah, I can't wait for next week. Granted, there is a chapter, because I couldn't remember what else the author said, but we'll see. That's more or less this chapter in a nutshell. I've chapter 5 pages for this chapter, and I can't wait for next week or the next chapter. So you guys know the usual. If you enjoyed this chapter, let me know what you think, and I'll speak to you guys next time. Take care.